This is CBN NewsWatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm George Thomas. Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May convened an emergency cabinet meeting to address its growing conflict with the Islamic Republic of Iran. Last week, Iranian special forces seized a British-owned tanker in the Strait of Hormuz. As my colleague Chris Mitchell reports from Jerusalem, it is increasing the growing conflict between Iran and Western powers.
Iran released new footage of the tanker Stena Impero, now flying an Iranian flag. On Friday, Iranian Revolutionary Guard commandos seized the ship in the Strait of Hormuz. This is a radio intercept between the British warship Montrose trying to reach the scene and Iranian naval forces.
Alter your course to 360 degrees immediately, over.
Seven Navy patrol boat, this is British warship Foxtrot 236. You must not impair, impede, obstruct or hamper the passage of the MV Stena Imperio.
Well, let's be clear, this was a hostile and aggressive act. The vessel was in Omani waters.
The UK's Defence Secretary said keeping the Strait of Hormuz open to shipping is vital to the world's economy. 1/5 of all global crude oil exports pass through the narrow waterway. Iran claims they seized the Stena Imperio because Britain impounded an Iranian tanker off the coast of Gibraltar. Britain says those actions were legal since the tanker was on its way to Syria in violation of international sanctions. Britain promised a robust response, but is hoping for a diplomatic solution.
We're looking for ways to de-escalate the situation, but we're also very clear that we will do what it takes to ensure the safety and security of British and international shipping.
The UK says it has a different approach than the U.S. maximum pressure strategy on Iran. Even though the Trump administration has imposed sanctions, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said the U.S. is open to negotiations with Iran.
But to date, we have seen no indications that the Iranians are prepared to fundamentally change the direction of their nation. These are not the actions of a country that looks like it's headed in the right direction, but we hope, as President Trump has said, that they will sit down and discuss each of these items with us.
While Israel has been quiet about the maritime crisis in the Gulf, it's watching it closely and alert to any provocations by Iran proxies like Hezbollah on its northern border. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And one footnote to the story, Iran announced it has arrested 17 suspected CIA agents, Iranians who say it worked with the U.S. intelligence agency to spy on the Islamic Republic. My colleague Gary Lane, chief international correspondent here at CBN News, joins us with the latest development. So tell us more about this Iran and alleged CIA spies.
Well, it looks like what Iran is saying, they made these arrests back in March, but they're releasing it now. I guess, George, because of this tit for tat that's going on in the Strait of Hormuz. These are some of the Americans that they say, CIA agents that they're alleging, had met with Iranians, I guess, in places like Dubai and elsewhere. Some of them were from U.S. embassies in Africa and other places. And they say they met with these Iranians, and they said, look, in exchange for a visa to the United States and maybe a job and a little bit of money, just get us some information and on the Islamic Republic, and we'll help you out there. So, that's what Iran is saying.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, we're not sure.
Yes.
I'm curious, how is the White House responding to these claims by Iran?
Well, the president took to Twitter again. We have a tweet from President Trump we want to show you right now. This is what the president said. He said, the report of Iran capturing CIA spies is totally false, zero truth. Just more lies and propaganda like their shot-down drone put out by a religious regime that is badly failing, has no idea what to do. Their economy is dead and will get much worse. Iran is a total mess. And then, George, of course, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said, well, what do you expect? You need to take these allegations from Iran with a grain of salt because we know that they lie and you can't trust what they're saying.
Chris was talking about this British tanker that was seized by the Iranians. How do you think the Brits are going to respond to this?
Well, the Brits aren't real happy about it right now. They're looking for a diplomatic solution, but this is something that should be taken seriously. It's not the same as the British seizing an oil tanker that had an Iranian flag on it that was bound for Syria because that was busting sanctions, international sanctions against Iran led by the United States. This is totally different. The Brits say this was in Omani waters off the coast of Oman.
Yeah. And today we learned that the Pentagon is sending troops to Saudi Arabia to a key facility in the desert kingdom. Why is that significant?
Now, some people would say that's because we're ramping up for a war. Now, what is significant about that is this base was used by American troops back at the start of Desert Storm, and then also against Afghanistan and the war there as well. But we haven't had troops in Saudi Arabia for 15 years. So what they're saying is, look, we're going to have some jets, fighter jets that will be arriving probably early next month. Some of the troops may be arriving soon. And already in place, George, Patriot missiles in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, Gary Lane, thank you so much for providing us some additional insights on this matter. We are going to stay international. From Iran, we move east to Hong Kong, where a violent attack against pro-democracy demonstrators there follows yet another day of protests. A large group of men armed with metal rods and wooden poles beat Hong Kong protesters who were trying to return home inside a commuter rail station late Sunday. More than 100,000 people marched through the city to demand democracy and an investigation into the use of force by police to disperse crowds at earlier protests. Demonstrators fear their autonomy from mainland China is eroding in Hong Kong and are marching for their rights and freedoms. And in Puerto Rico, citizens are going on 10-day protests in an effort to drive Governor Ricardo Rosales from office. Hundreds of thousands of people arrived Monday in what is being considered the largest protest ever in on the U.S. territory. Protesters are demanding Rosales' resignation over a leaked online chat he had with allies and federal corruption charges leveled against his administration. Today's march comes after Rosales has announced that he would not quit, but has promised not to seek re-election or continue as head of his political party. Here in the United States, House Republicans are pledging tough questioning of Special Counsel Robert Mueller when he testifies before Congress this week. The top Republican on House Judiciary Committee, Representative Doug Collins, said Republicans will be focused on making clear that the report represents, quote, a final episode in the Russian probe. Collins said the American people, they are growing weary of the Russian investigation after the release of the special counsel's 448-page report, and that Mueller's back-to-back hearings on Wednesday could shift public opinion on the question of holding the president accountable. Mueller's report did not find sufficient evidence to establish charges of criminal conspiracy between the Trump administration and Russia, but also stated Trump could not be cleared of trying to obstruct the investigation. We will have more on this story and others on Faith Nation this evening. As always, you can watch it right here on the CBN News channel. Extreme heat. Wow, it is still gripping parts of the United States, and in some places, the heat has given way to extreme weather. CBN's Jenna Browder has the story from Washington, where temperatures there are expected to feel more like 100 degrees again today.
It's not just the heat, but humidity making it so hot in Washington and along the East Coast. Cooler weather is on the way, but with a chance of extreme weather like they've seen in the Midwest. The extreme heat wave sent emergency crews rushing to this Virginia swim meet. At least 20 people were sickened by heat exhaustion. In Boston, the city opened cooling stations this weekend and made pools free of charge. And at Washington Dulles Airport, monitors warned outside crews to stay hydrated. United providing several hydration carts for workers.
We don't want to see people having heat strokes. We don't want to see people, pulled off the ramp.
In all of those places, records were broken, with heat indices reaching into the triple digits. In the Midwest, the heat has given way to heavy rain and wind, leaving 500,000 customers without power in Wisconsin and Michigan. The National Weather Service warning flash flooding might be possible in some areas.
Had that hit the house, it would have taken the bedroom off.
The heavy rain is also coming to the East Coast. Washington is expecting to cool down Tuesday when the storms arrive. And just like in the Midwest, what was a heat issue could quickly become a water issue. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Coming up, what a new announcement from Planned Parenthood means for the establishment and the pro-life advocates fighting against it. And before we go to the break, here's a look at what's trending on CBNnews.com.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
As the nations rage, you can stand with Israel.
History is being written, and I want to be a part of it.
Call 1-800-700-7000 and get to life.
This is our nature as a country.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
We consider it our duty to reach out and help others around the world.
For a gift of $10 or more, you can own the acclaimed CBN documentary To Life.
To treat a human, no matter what he is, which religious he have, which color he is, this is what I'm doing.
Support Israel in their time of need. Get to Life, now available on DVD. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to CBN.com.
And I wish that other people throughout the world could see this side of Israel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Welcome back to the CBN News channel. Planned Parenthood President and CEO Dr. Leana Wen shocked the political world last Tuesday when she announced on Twitter that the group's board had removed her in a secret meeting. Wen tweeted, quote, "I am leaving because the new board chairs and I have philosophical differences over the direction and future of Planned Parenthood." Wen wrote in the New York Times Friday that she had wanted to talk about all of Planned Parenthood's healthcare programs as its president. People depend on Planned Parenthood for breast exams, cervical cancer screenings, HIV testing, and family planning. She wrote, to counter those who associate the organization with only abortion and use this misconception to attack its mission, I wanted to tell the story of all its services, and in so doing to normalize abortion care as the health care it is. But in a statement about her departure earlier in the week, she wrote, quote, "The new board leadership has determined that the priority of Planned Parenthood moving forward is to double down on abortion rights advocacy." Joining us now is Abby Johnson, who once ran a large Planned Parenthood clinic in Texas. Abby, good to have you back on the show. It sounds like Leana Wen wanted to talk about Planned Parenthood as a healthcare organization while the board wants to focus on abortion in politics, right?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. And it's no surprise. I mean, I thought it was an interesting move when Planned Parenthood hired Dr. Leana Wen. I think they were trying to give themselves some credibility, hiring a physician. But they really need an activist because they're really not in the business of promoting healthcare, even providing standard health care. They're in the business of abortion, period. And unfortunately, Dr. Wen got to see that firsthand. And, she was, I think, very much betrayed by the organization. We saw that come through very clearly on her Twitter feed. And, I also think that we need to consider that she recently wrote about struggling with a miscarriage. So she's also a woman who is grieving the loss of a miscarried child. And a lot of times, those sorts of experiences, personal experiences in our lives, definitely change the way that we view different issues.
Is Planned Parenthood, in your opinion, a political organization?
Oh, they absolutely have become a political organization. We see them dumping millions of dollars into Democratic candidates' election committees, into we saw them, it was multi-millions of dollars that was funneled into the Hillary Clinton for president campaign. They are very, very politically involved, have been for many years. But I think especially since we saw President Trump's election, they've become even more so.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood says that they, they provide just about, abortion is just about 3% of their services. Do they really provide all those services that Wen wrote about in the NYT article?
Well, they provide some of those services. It is true, but the primary services that they offer are birth control and abortion. So we're even seeing now Planned Parenthood really showing their true colors, as in the past couple of years, they have opened up abortion-only centers. So these centers are running, 60 hours a week, Monday through Saturday, providing only abortion. So no birth control, no STD testing, none of these magical breast exams they keep talking about. It's just abortion all the time. And we see that now popping up in about 5 locations, and we see that continuing to expand across the country. And that shows us truly what they're all about. And it's the bottom line, and their highest revenue generating product is not birth control, it's not STD testing, it is abortion.
Planned Parenthood receives hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer funding. Abby, what would happen to that funding if it dried out?
Well, President Donald Trump has already removed about $60 million of their funding by cutting them out of the Title X program. There's many other pots of money where their funding needs to be cut. What we see is that when we remove government funding from Planned Parenthood, many of their clinics close down. And that's really what we want. We want Planned Parenthood facilities to be few and far between until there are eventually no more. It'd be one thing if Planned Parenthood was simply out there providing all of this health care without abortion, but Planned Parenthood has made it clear, even through their past president, Cecile Richards, she said in a tweet on social media that providing abortion is as important to Planned Parenthood as providing treatment and screenings for cervical cancer. So they're unable to separate the two. I mean, abortion is a critical product that they are selling. Okay,
Abby, we will have to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on to provide some insights on it. As always, come back again, okay, please?
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Well, folks, up next, how one group is partnering up with churches to wipe out people's medical debts.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Welcome back. You are watching the CBN News Channel. My next guest says that all of us are just one serious illness or accident away from finding ourselves in medical debt that we cannot pay back. A former debt collector, Greg Antico, is co-founder of RIP Medical Debt, a company that partners with churches and other organizations to wipe out people's medical debts and help them put their financial lives back in order. Greg joins us now by Skype. Great to have you on the show. You say that half of all debt the people in this country that carry is medical debt. Tell us why there is so much medical debt.
Well, for example, first of all, it's about a $3 trillion is paid every year for medical. So it's one of our biggest industries here in the country. Secondly, if you look at, say, hospitals and doctors, they don't actually do a very good job of collecting their money. So, for example, hospitals have one collector for every 8,000 accounts. So they have to outsource it to collectors, and collection agencies and debt buyers are how they do that.
What can happen to someone who gets into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, medical debt specifically, and they can't pay it back?
Well, what happens is they get placed for collection, and they get calls and calls. It can go on for 10 years or even more. And if they ignore these calls, they can get judgments entered against them. And the judgments last for 10, 20, even 30 years if they get renewed. So what's happening is, if you won't believe this, but 7% of all the employees in this country have a garnishment on their bank account or at their job, their pay. Wow. 7%. Now, about half of that is child care, alimony, and things like that. But the other half is between financial obligations and medical debt. About half of that is medical debt. So you get to a garnishment, and now you're really having a tremendous amount of pressure on your livelihood.
Yeah, no kidding. How does your company, RIP Medical Debt, work with churches to pay off people's medical bills?
Well, what they do is they come to us and say, we'd like to help a group of people. Usually it's a geographic group that's maybe a 50-mile radius of their churches, where their campuses are, or their church itself. And we will actually go and look in our database. We've got about $5 billion of debt that we can buy at any one time. And they will raise money from their congregation. A church just raised $100,000, and that will abolish over $10 million of debt.
Wow, incredible. Craig Antico, thank you so much for coming on the broadcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. Coming up, a look at the latest video from Lauren Daigle's record-breaking album, Look Up Child.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Come home to the Southern Gospel Station from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern Gospel favorites. CBN Southern Gospel. Available now at cbnradio.com.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
1 minute.
Weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
That is a clip from Lauren Daigle's latest video release from her record-breaking Look Up Child album. The Louisiana native and Grammy Award-winning Christian artist has made history with this album. It has been on Billboard's top Christian album chart for 44 weeks and has been a #1 for 39 weeks. Billboard reports that is a new record. Lauren appeared on American Idol 10 years ago when she was just 17 to audition for her chance to be the next star. She got a no from the judges at the time, yet has become a force to be reckoned with in the music industry. She won a Grammy Award for Look Up Child, and she just earned 3 Billboard Music Awards. She performed the song You Say in this year's 2019 Billboard Music Awards. Regarding her crossover appeal, she said, quote, "It doesn't mean that I'm leaving one for the other or that I'm going to be swept up by one thing or the other." According to the Christian Post, she went on to say, quote, "Everything just got clearer as to why it is that we go and love people who are outside the walls of our church, outside of the walls that we're comfortable with." You can watch this story and the full video at cbnnews.com. Well, folks, that is a wrap of this week's edition, this particular today, right now, this edition of Newswatch. You can find more of the issues you care most about at cbnnews.com. You can also watch CBN News programs anytime right here on the CBN News channel. From all of us here in the studio and back in the control room, have a fantastic rest of the day, and God bless.